Well, good morning, everyone. We have two bills before us today. The first is introductory number 541A, sponsored by Council members Wills, Barron, Cabrera, Dickens, Fidler, Gentili, Capel, Koslowitz, Mealy, Seabrook, Williams, Sanders, Vaca, Comrie, Levin, Jackson, Drum, James, Gennaro, Van Bremer, Nelson, Crowley, Weprin, Eugenie, Chin, Lander, and Vallone. It is. Well, sometimes there's lots more. Introductory number 541A would expand the current prohibition on the sale of expired over-the-counter medication beyond retailers to include flea markets and other private sellers. The bill also provides the Department of Consumer Affairs and other agencies the authority to enforce its provisions and to levy fines and civil penalties to those who sell expired over-the-counter medications. The Food and Drug Administration began requiring expiration dates on over-the-counter medications in the 1970s in an effort to ensure that consumers know how long they could expect the medicine they purchase to work. The legislation redoubles that effort and helps keep drugs that are expired out of the hands of people who need effective medicine. And I would like to thank Commissioner of Consumer Affairs Jonathan Mintz, Health Commissioner Tom Farley, and all their staff for their work on this bill, along with our Office of City Legislative Affairs. I'd also like to thank the City Council for approving this legislation, and we have some City Council people here who may or may not want to speak. Would you like to say something? Yes, you are the first.
Good morning. I'd like to thank the Speaker and the Mayor, the Honorable Bloomberg, for making sure this legislation gets passed this morning. This legislation is very important to urban communities. There are a lot of people knowingly and unknowingly that sell expired medication that can be detrimental to the health of individuals. Mothers that give young children expired medication often have to give them more of the dosage, which can be harmful to them. People who require aspirins that are dealing with blood thinners or have heart problems, taking expired medication, it could be detrimental to them also. So this morning, this bill would not just go towards the enforcement or opening up the powers for DCA and NYPD to enforce this, but will go a long way to mitigating the negative health effects that can come about from this expired medication. Thank you.
Not on this one. Councilman? After you? No? Nothing?
Well, I just want to, no one should play with the health of any individual, especially children. I think that many times, especially many parents, they go to particular places trying to get the best medicine. I think that the message that we send is loud and clear, that we have zero tolerance for anyone that is trying to sell any expired medicine to any New Yorker.
Good. Great. Only one person has signed up, Joseph Garber, civil activist. Joseph?
Good morning, Mayor Bloomberg, members of the Council, Director Maholtzis, Director Wegley, members of the public. My name is Joseph Garber. I'm a civic activist. This bill, number Intro 541A, is another example of how the Bloomberg administration and the 27 members of the City Council who signed up are sponsors to be concerned about the quality of life of New Yorkers. Intro 541A prohibits the sale and the offer for sale of any over-the-counter medication after the expiration date beyond which the contents cannot be expected to be safe and effective. This is an example of what the Bible calls ushmata ma'id al nafshechem, and you should protect your lives and make sure you don't do anything that could be detrimental. This intro in section number 20-822, subdivision B, discusses violations and civil penalties. Under section 20-823, enforcement is mentioned, and the enforcement will be handled by several agencies. The New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, the New York City Department of Consumer Affairs, and it's more than coincidental that the police department is mentioned as one of the enforcement agencies, because this coming week, Saturday, the 3rd of September, we read in the Old Testament the concept of Shoftim is the name of the 4th weekly reading. And this means God tells the children of Israel, judges and policemen you shall appoint in all the villages. So this is very appropriate for this week. So now that we heard some biblical thought, please sign this bill, which will enhance, God willing, the quality of life and prevent, God forbid, illnesses from occurring. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else like to add anything? If not, I will sign the bill. The other bill before us today is introductory number 632A, sponsored by council members Weprin, Chin, Fiddler, James, Koslowitz, Van Bremer, Rose, Levin, Jackson, Drum, Gennaro, Nelson, Crowley, Lander, Williams, and Ulrich. Introductory number 632A amends the city's human rights law with respect to the duty of employers to provide a reasonable accommodation for religious observances of their employees and prospective employees. Our city human rights law already requires employers to make, quote, reasonable accommodation to the religious needs, unquote, of employees, and specifies that a, quote, reasonable accommodation, unquote, shall not cause undue hardship on the employer's business. This bill actually adds clarity to our local law by providing that undue hardship for the employer is something involving significant expense or difficulty, which is language already used in the state human rights law with which the city already complies. This legislation contains a non-exhaustive list of factors to be considered in determining whether an accommodation would pose an undue economic hardship, and also provides that an accommodation poses undue hardship if it results in an employee being unable to perform the essential functions of the employee's job. Our city government already follows this standard as an employer and has an EEOC policy available on the website of the Department of Citywide Administration Services, which prohibits denial of reasonable accommodations for religious beliefs that do not create an undue hardship. And I would like to thank Commissioner on Human Rights Patricia Gatling and her staff for their work on this bill, along with our Office of City Legislative Affairs and the City Council for approving this legislation. Does anybody want to say something? Mark?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very proud to be here today on this legislation. I represent a district in Queens County. As many of you know, is the most diverse county probably in the entire world. And that diversity is not just a bumper sticker, it is actually a way of life. And, I'm very proud to work with the mayor on this. The mayor is going to go down for a lot of important things in this city. One of the things is going to be his fight for people's religious freedom. And this just codifies in our law a stricter standard that you need to show in order to deny somebody a religious accommodation. And that's private employees, public employees, every New Yorker, which is the message we really want to send to all New Yorkers, that every American deserves the full embrace of our constitutional freedoms, and that this city in particular believes very strongly in people's right to practice their religion, and no one should have to make a choice between practicing their religion and doing their job. So I'm delighted to be here and to be joined by members of the Sikh Coalition, some gentlemen from Sansagar, a Gurdwara in my area, and their leader Babaji, who's here. We're very honored to have him as well, and I thank the mayor and my colleagues for all their help. Thank you.
Anybody else? Nobody signed up? We'll sign the bill.
Can I bring up?